Good morning.
Good morning. It's Saturday
It's Saturday. Did
with
you get
H
your
and
booty?
K.
Oh gosh, is that our new catchphrase?
I think it is
All right.
Saturday with H and K.
Did you get your bougie coffee this morning?
No, I'm just doing poor man's coffee, brewed coffee at the house.
Oh my goodness, what a shame.
I may have to we may have to have an intermission mid-show so I can go refill. Who knows?
That's why you keep it right next to you. I mean, you gotta learn from the pros.
Yeah, I got a thing or two to learn, I suppose.
Good morning, Nicole.
Good morning.
I am moving slow today. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff to do today that I don't want to do, but it's kind of one of those where I know if I keep putting it off, it's going to get dark before I can do it, and then I'm really going to be mad that I didn't get it done.
Yeah, because it gets dark at like 5.
Yeah, so you got like a 6-hour window between the sun coming up and really getting stuff done.
Right.
But yeah, the coffee is what will get us moving, and I got my alpha brain in me, so
I need to get more alpha brain. I'm slacking. I'm just
yeah.
not gonna be as smart anymore.
I definitely notice a big difference between the days that I don't take alpha brain, like learning the guitar. The days I take alpha brain, I'm not shredding, but I'm grating some cheese on that thing. But
You're no Slash, but you're working on it.
yeah, but yeah, the days without it, I'm like, man, I'm lost trying to
Really?
figure this out. But
I didn't get to test it as much as I wanted to while I was doing my little month run with it. I
yeah,
just took it and went to work, and it's like once you get to work, everything turns into like mechanics from there.
yeah. I mean, like try reading a book with and without it. That's a good test.
Yeah.
You'll feel like distracted,
Well, I
with
feel distracted
without
all.
it. Yeah, but yeah, it's a good product.
I'm distracted without help. I'm like I can't move in my house without somebody saying, "Mom, mom."
Yeah, you got to
There's
lock them
one
out.
sleeping in here right now, and I bet she's gonna wake up here in a few minutes.
Mm.
So just be prepared.
And then she'll want to steal the show.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to kick her off, then she's gonna be heartbroken.
And then you get consequences later.
Whole ordeal. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, what's our favorite topic for today?
Well, our favorite one, I think we should save for later. I think the first one.
Oh, I figured the first one was your favorite topic.
No. No, the first one I think we should talk about is the Brittany Griner release.
There's a lot of heat going on with this right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll kind of set the backstory in case there's somebody out there that doesn't know who Brittany Griner is. So Brittany Griner is a U.S. citizen who also plays women's basketball, pro basketball. We're not sure if she is a woman. It's very suspect, but nonetheless, I guess she's like all the protected classes you can be in U.S. the U.S. right now. So she's black, a lesbian, possibly a man who is a woman. Yeah.
But like then not really a lesbian.
Yeah.
Depending on which way that goes.
Reverse lesbian.
I'm very confused.
Reverse lesbianism, I guess. I don't know.
I guess.
Married to a woman. So and I forget why she went over to Russia. I don't remember if there was like a tournament or if she was just going to visit. I think there was some sort of event that she was going.
I thought so too.
Yeah,
some basketball game for like an event.
Yeah. So, anyways, she goes over and she gets caught with like I think it was edibles, right?
No, it was all it was
Or it was
empty. It was almost empty cartridges.
oh yeah, like
So,
CBD or something like that. Yeah, for like
well,
her
and it could have been
vape
actual
pen.
weed cartridges. I have no idea, but like, yeah,
Yeah,
THC cartridges.
for her vape pen. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
So Russia carries stricter marijuana laws than
correct.
the US. So she gets caught, she gets convicted, and goes she goes to jail, Russian prison. And I think it's supposed to be like a 10-year sentence or something crazy like that.
Yeah, which is crazy. I agree that that's insane.
Yeah. Like I think almost 90% of America would agree that all right, that's a little bit crazy of a sentence to carry out on any kind of marijuana charge unless it's like unless you're an actual drug dealer dealing marijuana, so on and so forth,
Right,
whatever. Because it is legal. It's still legal. It's still on the books.
right.
But the sentence is definitely overstepping it. So, anyways, she gets sentenced and has served what, like 8 to 9 months or something like that.
Yeah, she's been in there since February, I want to say.
Yeah. So, all right. So she's at about 10 months that she's been over in Russia.
Hmm.
So, anyways, she's like, I guess we should reverse a little bit too. She was very active during all the Black Lives Matter stuff. Taking up every woke cause that could be put out there. Like I said, she's all the protected classes you could have.
She's woke folk.
Yeah. So then whenever she gets caught, a lot of conservatives are kind of like, well, let her stay over there. Let her figure out that, the US isn't so bad.
Not that anybody probably agreed with the sentence, because that's crazy. Nobody is disputing that, but it's not our laws.
Yeah. Yeah, you go to another country, you break their laws.
I mean, like,
You're
and okay, an empty cartridge, even if it was a full cartridge, okay, if it's for personal use, that's nothing in the grand scheme of things. That is I mean, it's nothing. But to me, if you are in another country trying to bring that home, like, you got balls. It's time for you to be
Yeah.
humbled a little bit, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah, why didn't you throw it away for one?
exactly.
Which makes me kind of wonder, was it empty?
Hmm.
You know what? I don't have. We don't have the evidence that they had against her. I don't think. Like I don't
I
think
didn't
there's
see it when I
hard
was looking it up.
evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's hard evidence. I think we're all just going off of what like hearsay, pretty much, right?
What the news is telling us,
Yeah. So,
which
and we
could
know
be
how much you can
bullshit.
trust the news.
Right.
So, anyways, she gets caught
Uh-oh.
and she's serving her sentence, and like, yep, you called it.
Good morning.
So she's serving her sentence. She's like asking for help from all these groups to try to advocate for her to get released back to the US. She wants the Biden administration to intervene on her behalf so that she can come back and be a star in women's basketball, because that's what we need.
Right.
And so they finally work a deal. And the deal they work is for her to be released in exchange for a guy whose nickname is the Angel of Death.
Right. They
So-
compared him to the John Wick of Russia.
So we get one pot-smoking women's national basketball star, and Russia gets back a possibly intelligence spy, arms dealing, horrible man who was his sentence was supposed to be like 25 years in the US. and he's only served 10 years of it. So,
Yep.
as Trump would say, this is the worst trade deal in the history of trades.
Well, and the initial negotiations was what? Oh my goodness, I can't remember what the soldier's name is that's over there.
Paul Whelan?
Yes.
Yeah, Marine. He's actually a former Marine.
Okay, so he's over there. He's been over there since what, 2018?
Yeah, either 17 or 18.
And same scenario, except for I don't know what his charge was.
So he was actually charged with espionage.
Okay.
It's almost one of those. It's kind of weird why it's always Marines, because Lee Harvey Oswald, he spent some time over in Russia as well, and then he comes back and gets framed with shooting JFK.
I was about to say, woo, that's a whole other show.
Yeah, but he's a Marine that went over to Russia, so it's kind of weird. It's almost like they have patsies, that they're like, just send this guy over to Russia, and
right.
And I forget why exactly why Paul Whelan was over in Russia. But during his time in the Marine Corps, like, he was actually the way I was reading it, but of course I didn't look too far into it. I was just kind of looking up some quick details on him yesterday. And this is what is on his Wikipedia page, for whatever that's worth. I guess he had like a few counts of larceny in the Marine Corps, which is basically stealing, And I'm trying to remember what he stole. It was some stuff that was kind of silly to me, but anyways, he had some counts of larceny, and then so he got in a little bit of trouble with the Marine Corps. I think he was supposed to be in like the air wing with the Marine Corps. I think he knows Russian. Somehow he learned Russian, and that's one of the reasons he went over to Russia, is because he knows Russian.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, it was kind of weird because whenever he got arrested, he was over in Russia for somebody's wedding, a fellow Marine's wedding. And I'm kind of like, why is another Marine getting married in Russia? I don't know. Not much of it was making a whole lot of sense to me. But anyways, he got arrested for espionage by Russia. And I don't know how long his sentence is supposed to be, but he's only been there for like 4 or 5 years.
Right, but far longer than 10 months.
Yeah. Yeah, probably more horrible than I would assume. Probably getting arrested for espionage in Russia would probably get you worse consequences than getting arrested for an empty bottle of THC.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, could you say it would have been a fair deal if we negotiated for both?
I'm not even sure that, though. Like, so if you look at the guy that we exchanged for, Victor Bout is his name.
Mm-hmm.
And his Wikipedia page is, they don't even know when he was born.
That's strange.
Like, they speculate he may have been born like at this time, and but he was like ethnically Ukrainian, but was born in like Tajikistan. But anyways, he served in the communist, like the Soviet army during like the 80s, before the fall of the Soviet Union, and he knows like 5 or 6 different languages. It was like Portuguese, English, Russian, of course, Farsi, which is Arabic, one of the Arabic languages, and then I think another form of like Arabic. So he knows those 5, and the dude is obviously somewhat intelligent, knowing
right.
five languages. I think they're a little unsure exactly what he did in the Soviet army. Like they think he may have been in intelligence, but then they think he may have been doing some other stuff too. So
Okay.
so he's got this background of, kind of like military spycraft, intelligence history.
Right.
And sometime towards the end of his career with the military, I guess he bought like a bunch of surplus planes from the military and turned them into, like, he had plans to run cargo basically. So
Wow.
he was basically set up to move arms deals. And one of the crimes he's accused of is selling surface to air missiles to a terrorist group that used them to shoot down an Israeli airliner
Jeez.
in 2002.
So like this dude is like legit, probably a concern.
Yeah.
Obviously he was locked up, but like that's concerning.
Yeah. So he also claims to have not had any ties with Al Qaeda and the Taliban, but he made several trips between Afghanistan and Russia during like the early 2000s to mid 2000s before he was caught. And this is like his planes making these trips, so they were carrying cargo to,
Wow.
or maybe from, I don't know. So he's probably responsible for American deaths for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we just let him go. Just let him go.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we'll give you back your pot smoker basketball player if we can have our guy that has killed a bunch of people.
Right. Which also, like when I was talking about this with a few other people, in order for Courtney to be female, or to be a born natural female, and have the voice that she has as a woman with a deep voice, and just the physical, I don't know. It's very hard for me to believe that she is naturally born a woman, and if she is, that she's not taking something to enhance being masculine, which would be against the rules of the NBA or the WNBA, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I know during college she was like way beyond the skill of a lot of the other women college players. Like it was even then, if she wasn't taking something, it was very questionable, kind of like how she was so much better than the others.
Right. So, and not saying that gender or sexuality should prevent you from being rescued, but at the same time, you went to a different country and broke a law.
Yeah.
You didn't care about breaking the law when you were over there. You didn't care until you got caught.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have done it to begin with.
Well, you also, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of conservatives didn't care too much, is because she spent so much time bashing the U.S.
Right.
over its laws and how we're unjust and unfair over here. And then goes over there and gets a real quick dose of reality in how other countries, like we are light years beyond Russia's laws of what you, like, even just what you can say. Like,
Yeah.
like you bash Russia and you're straight to the gulag.
And I mean, as much as I completely want to be on board with that, because I feel like it's highly disrespectful to your country, also there's that First Amendment thing, you know,
Yeah.
like
Well, it's so it's one thing whenever you say something and it's true, and it's another whenever you say something because you were told to say something and it's really not true. But it's like, well, your speech is protected. You're allowed to say this even if it's not true.
I always question, like, with any kind of celebrity, or whether it be in Hollywood or sports, like, how much of that is really their choice. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that they're not allowed to be who they want to be, but to an extent they're not allowed to be who they want to be.
Yeah.
And how much are you getting paid? It's everybody's worth a price, right? Everyone has a price. So how much are you willing to let go of your morals, and how much you value, being honest to make money and be a celebrity?
Yeah. I mean, we see it with LeBron in China.
Yeah.
Like, we know he's getting deals from Chinese, and Nike is where they make all their shoes in China, So we know it's big. We know
Right.
he doesn't want to lose those deals. He's making millions of dollars off of being sponsored.
Right.
But at the same time, at this point in his career, he's made millions. He can live off the rest of his life if he's smart. Like, when do you stop and go and get a conscience and say, you know what, I don't want to carry water for the Chinese government anymore?
Well, and I guess it depends on how long you signed to that contract for, Like, I would assume that most of these people have contracts with whoever is handling them. And how long did they sign for? How long are they stuck?
Yeah. Yeah, I think
now, do I think that's probably the case for Courtney? No. I think she, like, I don't think anyone's paying a WNBA star. It's just not popular enough. I'm sorry. As a woman, the WNBA is not popular enough for these people to be offering a whole lot of money to say and do things that is politically driven. I feel like that's just
I mean, the WNBA, like, started with sponsors on their jerseys, so
right.
And that was one of the big things at the start of the WNBA. They're like, look at this. The women have to wear sponsors on their jerseys just so they can play, and the men don't. Like, that was...
I mean, it had to start somewhere.
Yeah. But it was like, whenever every woman on the court can dunk, call me. Because in the in the NBA, every dude that's out there can definitely dunk.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just different, but
yeah, I don't know. I don't see a whole lot of people. I feel like there's two types of woke celebrities out there. There's the ones that are getting paid to say the things that they have to say. Yeah. And then there's the other ones that just want to be a part of it all.
Yeah, that actually believe in what they're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And I got a feeling that she's probably one of those people that just wants to be cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's and some of them, I guess, just keep their mouth shut over the whole thing.
Which really should be, in my opinion, like, don't get involved in politics. Just do what you're here to do. You get paid millions to put a ball in a basketball hoop. Like, just do that.
Well, that's why the NFL had so many viewers get turned away, and I mean, they still got it. Like, every, whenever they've got end racism on the padding on the field goals, and in racism on the back of their helmets, and all this stuff, and I'm like, these like 90% of the league is black men getting paid way more than like 90% of their viewers.
Yes, they are very oppressed.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I'm not laughing at racism. Like, does it exist? Yeah, it's always gonna exist because
but
you're
it's
always gonna
not.
have stupid people.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like having a cockroach infestation. Like you're gonna see a cockroach run across the floor, and you'll be like, okay, there's some cockroaches in my house. So you come in, you call an exterminator, and they may get rid of like 99% of the problem, but there's still gonna be some cockroach somewhere in your house, probably.
Yeah, there's still gonna be that one racist asshole.
Like, are you going to wage war on the cockroaches? Like, you'd have to burn the house completely down to completely get rid of every single one of those cockroaches, and then they're just going to spread out to somebody else's house. So, but that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to kill every single cockroach that's out there to end racism. And I'm like,
But what happens is if the majority of the people agree with you and they want to end racism also, and then you have those handful of nut jobs out there running around like, nah, let's put on our white hoods.
yeah,
Like, then we just ignore those nut jobs like we do all the crazy people. We move on with our lives. Like, let them live in their own weird, chaotic world, and we're gonna stay over here.
yeah,
Because you can't, because like you said, you cannot get rid of all of it. It's just out of your control. There's nothing you can do about it.
yeah. You're never going to hunt every single one down. I mean, maybe gradually over time you'll eventually, change the way people think, just because information is getting to them. The way they grew up is changing. The way everybody's growing up is changing, at least in the United States.
Yep.
But yeah, it's not like you just, hey, don't be a racist, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I just need to stop.
I don't think that it's being pushed so hard, and let's be honest, it got pushed so hard because we went through the election, and then the woke versus the awake, and everybody started doing their research and looking into it, and whatever. But I don't feel like the majority of the world isn't in agreement on that already, on that stance already. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we've been sitting here and we've been arguing about it for how many years now?
Yeah.
Well,
it's kind of like
Sorry.
COVID fatigue. Like you get fatigued out, especially if you're in agreement. Like, yeah, racism is bad. You've agreed that from the very start.
Yeah.
And you're getting told every day, because you're not part of the protected class, that you have to be either anti-racist or like actively involved in anti-racism, and it just gets thrown in your face every single day, and you're like,
yeah,
I've never believed that any racism towards anybody is good. Like,
right.
I'm already in agreement. Like, when does this campaign stop? Like,
yeah, when do we stop pushing this? Because we've already been in agreement on this for years now.
Yeah.
So when do we get to move on to other issues that are actually affecting our society? Because, yeah, this has an effect on society, but again, a very small portion of society.
Yeah.
So when do we get to move on and focus on stuff that is actually ruining our world right now? Like, instead of focusing on what color everybody is, we could just come together and not care about that and focus on like how to get our country back.
Yeah. And the other thing is too, is like we focused on it so hard that like the pendulum swung one way and now it's starting to swing the other way. Like we've at one point it probably hit, everybody's even. Same thing with like feminism. They wanted to vote, they wanted to be in to work jobs, and now, like in some cases, women are actually getting paid more than men.
Yep.
At like some of these woke companies, and they did an audit, and they were like, "Oh, well, we actually did an audit, and the women are getting paid more than the men here."
Well,
We
yeah, because
went,
we bitched about it.
yeah,
That's
we
how we
went
get things
a
done.
little too far, and that's what I'm saying. Is at what point, like, do you stop taking up your cause because you've actually got what you asked for?
Right.
Um,
Yeah, feminism was great, right? But we got what we wanted. So like let's stop now. Like let's stop making
Yeah.
ourselves look like assholes.
like you got what you asked for, and now you're just demonizing every man, or in
Yeah.
racism's case, like you're just demonizing every white person for for crimes that were committed a long, long time ago.
Well, and like let's be honest. Most people aren't looking like women that are typical feminists, okay? Like hardcore feminists are so feminist that they become a little masculine. And most people like if and that brings us back to the if you want to be one then be one, but like pick,
Yeah.
because you can't be like feminism and then like want to be a man.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything you do makes you look like you're a man. And I
And
guess
what's
that's part of the thing I've never understood about lesbianism is why they would be attracted to a woman who fashions themselves after men. But
no, I don't know either, but
yeah.
I will say that's always kind of confused me. Like we got our equal rights a while ago. Okay, we've been working on it, we've been pushing it. Now we're at a point where we're doing the same thing. We're equal opportunity. Like there's not a whole lot these days that women can't do that men can do apart from just physical.
Yeah.
So like but then we still push. Like you still want to push, but then it makes everybody else look like horrible. So now you've got women that are literally being forced to take masculinity away from men.
Yeah.
I don't want to be masculine. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't need any
Yeah.
help there. But like I don't want to be looked at as masculine. I don't want to be the sole breadwinner, the sole responsibility person. I don't want everything to rely on me. There's a reason that there's a family unit. There's the
Yeah.
spouse, that you have to have that support. And the fact that
Testosterone.
people push so hard, like women are out there pushing so hard to be that independent. That's not how
Yeah.
it's meant to be.
Yeah. Testosterone definitely plays a big role in society. And I think that it's a society without testosterone is going to be, I think we're already seeing like the beginning stages of it.
Big time.
And the beginning stages of it is scary. Like the even the levels of testosterone are dropping
Like
like,
huge amounts every
and
year.
it's and they can't figure out exactly why. Like, is it plastics in the water?
I'm gonna call bullshit on that. They
Like,
don't know why.
well, yeah, probably somebody knows why, and it's probably on
They
purpose.
know
But
why.
yeah, they're trying to emasculate men, and like even in the like early 2000s, they were talking about toxic masculinity, and well, there's also toxic femininity as well. But like they made every effort to make men feel like being a man is not something to be proud of,
Right.
and that if you do manly things, then you're oppressing 50% of the world by doing manly things, and you need to be more feminine.
And that's not, I mean, okay, what's the ratio of men to women? There's like a 1.5, right? 1.5 more women than there are men
I don't know. Maybe.
on
Let's
Earth.
look it up. Let's look it up.
Oh, I wasn't prepared to look things up.
Ratio of men to women in the world.
I think it's like almost 1.5.
The number of men and women in the world is roughly equal, though men hold a slight lead with 102 men for 100 women. 100 women. So there's actually a little bit more men.
More men. I always thought it was the opposite.
So out of 1,000 people, 504 are men and 496 are women.
Okay, well, never mind then. I honestly thought that I read a ratio at one point that it was like 1.5 women to every man.
So y'all need to stop backing up. We got you outnumbered.
Like eventually, and then like the man where I was going with that point was like we're slowly taking over, and then we're turning all of our men feminine.
Yeah.
Like, who the hell wants that? Of course, the entire world is now gay because we don't even know what we want.
Yeah, I guess that would be the next thing we should look up is see what the ratio of trans men to women are rather than like women to men.
I'm gonna guess that there's more trans men than there are women.
I would guess. Are you saying?
I'm saying
men
that there's
to
more
woman?
men. I'm saying that there's more men
Wanting to be a woman
that like to dress up as women. Now we're not talking
I think
about,
so too.
We're not talking about women that like to dress tomboyish. We're talking about transgender. I'm gonna say more men that want to become women than women that want to become.
That's what I would guess as well. And so that just kind of like would prove our theory that the change with testosterone and people trying to be women is true.
Are we looking this up?
Are you?
I don't know. Wait, what?
I don't know. I don't know if there's hard facts up. Let's see. Are trans women more common than trans men?
Trans women are more common. 1 in every 3,000 people are trans women. And then 1 in every 30,000 are women. Trans women. So women transitioning into men. And then trans men is 1 in every 100,000.
So what I'm reading is that there's a greater prevalence of trans women, which is male to female.
Wait, male to female?
Yeah. Trans women would be a male to a female.
So we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
So we're right. It's more
basically
men transitioning into women.
Yeah, exactly what we thought.
Okay. I was like, wait a second, that doesn't make that would surprise me if it was the opposite.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I just assume it's that way. Mainly because the testosterone is so low.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying is like it's dropped significantly. And I mean, you get males that are less healthy. And that goes across the board. That goes for mental health, physical health. And yeah, can you get guys that are too testosterone and they just become douchebags? Yeah, for sure. You got that. But just putting a blank label across the board and saying anybody who has testosterone and does male things is toxic masculinity, like because you want to wrestle like in high school or because you want to box or like there's a good thing to have. And I've heard it on several shows this week, like between Crowder and Bongino. He's like, if you're a female, like a classic female, you don't want a guy who's low on testosterone whenever something goes bad. You want a guy who is ready to fight for you
I don't
or
know.
defend you, you know.
I don't know any female on earth who is attracted to men that wants a low testosterone man.
Yeah.
I've never met anyone like that before in my life.
I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure there's a
I'm sure they exist.
But I think
Otherwise,
it's
metro men would not exist.
yeah. But I'm not even sure it's even an attraction, more as it's just like I've been told that everything about men who fit the category of being like testosterone and like we'll just say like hunters, conservative, gun shooters, fighters, whatever the case may be, you know, your classic American male. Everything I've been told about that is that they are bad, that they are racist, that they are, you know, this or that or the other. And so it's not even, it may not even be that they're unattracted. They're just unattracted to the stereotype.
Also true. Brainwashing at its finest.
Yeah.
Which is insane to me. Because, like, I'm sorry. I don't know any woman that, as a woman who has been in that position before, I don't know any woman who wants to take on the responsibility of taking care of a man.
Yeah.
Like, when you have to literally take care of like a child almost, because they've been so enabled their entire life, or are low on T, or all of the above. Like, it's not a position that any woman wants. Not a woman that wants a partnership. That only comes from a woman who wants to run everything and have control over her entire household.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking too, is you end up in a situation like I've heard several stories from girls about situations where the man they were with was a piece of shit. And like, and it's funny because they would chalk that up as like a toxic masculinity thing, like too much testosterone. We're like, no, that's not testosterone. He doesn't have an ounce of testosterone in his body if he is not willing to go out and work and do what he has to do to provide for whoever he's with. Like, that is the opposite of testosterone.
I completely agree.
So,
God,
I don't
we're
know.
just ruining our men. It sucks.
Yeah. We're ruining a lot of things. Like, it sucks because, you know, it, like the 1920s, 1930s, like we still had, and even in the 40s, you know, we still had like men who were willing to fight for their country, go defend the U.S. They're adventurers, you know, they own guns, they went out, hunted, you know, they did all the, like they're your classic American male. And am I saying that that's the way it, like as far as the males go, I think that's the way it should have been. Now, as far as the females go, yeah, there were some changes that we could have made, allow them to vote. But then at the same time, whenever there were a lot of females back in that day that didn't want the responsibility of having to go vote. They're like, well, just leave it to the men. You know,
well, society was completely different back then. Women stayed home and took care of the house and the children. That's just how it was.
Yeah, it was a formula that worked, and it was a formula that created individuals who were more solid than what we have today.
Well, that's because not enough people get their ass whooped.
Yeah, that too.
I firmly believe, like I've said that so many times in the last 2 weeks. Like, this is just a prime example of kids that did not get their ass whooped enough when they were younger.
Yeah. Yeah, the you could branch off several directions with that subject, but
whole other show.
Yeah, I don't know how we got from Brittany Griner being released to the Problems
Because
with Our
that's
Society.
what we do,
Yeah.
Kevin. That is what we do.
I mean, I guess that's definitely related. She probably didn't get her ass whooped. And
You
now
can
that
tell she can get her ass
yeah,
whooped.
now that she finally got into some consequences.
Well, that's what I meant when I said that I feel like she probably should have been humbled a little bit. Like
Yeah.
if you're not concerned at all about trying to get shit like that back across like I mean I just
Yeah.
that should
She had
not
no
even be a
regard.
worry. And it's not like she doesn't make enough money to then get back to the States and buy however much weed she wants to.
Yeah. Like
I don't understand.
you had to go on this trip with that. That's what I don't understand. It's probably only like a week trip.
Yeah.
Come on,
Well,
Brittany.
I mean, like, yeah, one, you can go without it for a week. It's not an addictive substance. I mean, to an extent.
You
I think
can't
there
get
is mental.
addicted to it.
It doesn't have anything addictive to it, but you can mentally get addicted to it. But
The Ballad of Dewey Cox just popped into my head.
what?
The Ballad of Dewey Cox. Have you not watched that movie?
Uh-uh.
It's the one with John C. Reilly where it's kind of like a parody of Johnny Cash's life.
Oh, well,
Where his drummer is always doing drugs in the bathroom.
yeah, I still don't think I've seen it. No.
Yeah.
No.
And he's like every time he catches them in the bathroom, it's like different stages of their life. And he's like smoking marijuana in one of them. And he's like, what do you got there? And he's like, it's marijuana. And he's like, well, what do you do with it? He's like, you smoke it. Makes you feel good. He's like, well, I better not. I don't want to get addicted to it. And he's like, you can't get addicted to it. He's like, all right, well, maybe I'll try it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Sorry.
There's nothing. No, you're fine. There's nothing addictive about it. So I don't. I mean, I don't even remember where I was going with that. But anyways, all of this can roll right into the next topic.
Yeah. Are we living in a simulation?
Oh Lord,
Is anything real? What is real?
no, nothing's real.
Yeah. And so the reason we ask, we watched a video this week. It's on YouTube, and I guess we could reference it. It was called the Y Files, right?
Yes.
So it was the Y Files on YouTube is a channel, and I think the title of the video is just like we are living in a simulation, and here's the evidence, or something like that.
Yeah, it was something. It was something very like you can't miss the show if you're watching it.
Yeah. So basically, the guy starts the show off, and he's talking about, there's always been like a conspiracy theory that we're living in a simulation, that our reality is manufactured by someone somewhere, this and that. But the part that I found most interesting is there's a part where they do an experiment, which it took me a couple times to watch this experiment to really grasp what they're trying to say. But basically they took a photon emitter and they aimed it at some sort of like a wall, and then they would measure what photons made it to the wall and how. And so if it's shooting it just straight at the wall, it would emit it in like a wave.
Right.
And so what they did, they did what the double slit experiment is what it's called. So they basically had like a piece of paper or some sort of thing in the middle between the emitter and the wall that has two slits in it. So you like side by side, you've got like the paper, and then there's two slits in it to allow the photons to pass through it. So what happens whenever they're doing this is the photons are going at the paper, and then they would pass through the slit, and they should hit the other wall lined up with the slit that is the slits. So you would have, whenever they measure it on the other side, you'll have a line, two lines of photons hitting the wall. So they start this experiment, and it's doing exactly what they think it should do whenever they're observing it. And they're like, okay, so let's change it up a little bit. So that what they did then is, whenever they weren't observing it, but they still had the recording device seeing what photons were hitting the other wall, they noticed that it was basically moving in like waves. So it wasn't actually materialized, if you will. It wasn't particles.
Right.
It was going in waves. And it, as you can see, that black screen on the right, as it was going through the slits, instead of lining up on the wall on the screen in straight lines, it was hitting it in waves until somebody looks at it. Then it turns back in and does what it should be doing.
Which is the weirdest part.
Yeah. So how do these photons know that we are looking at them? And that they're supposed to be acting like particles and not waves?
And how does that affect everything? I mean, if it affects the very thing that builds everything, how does that then affect everything else?
So, yeah, so they kind of continue, and they kind of explain, like, if you're in a video game, if you're looking at something in a video game, everything else around it may not be rendered. So, like, if you're in a first-person shooter game playing Call of Duty, if you're looking in this direction, the stuff in that direction is rendered, and everything else behind you is not, because it would slow the game down. So, but as soon as you spin, then everything renders so that it sees it, and then whatever you were looking at would essentially disappear for the game. That way it could keep running at full speed.
Right.
So that's kind of what they're saying, is like, if these photons aren't rendering while somebody's not looking at them, are we living in a simulation that once you look at them, they render?
Yeah. Now, the example that they used of, so when scientists look at, light years into, what is that, the future, or the past, I don't know, it changes the past, because then it knows that we see it. It was all
that was the other part that was kind of mind-blowing, is as the waves are going at the screen and they're going through, as soon as you look at it, they would reverse engineer themselves basically into a particle instead of a wave, as if they were traveling back in time to tell you, like, oh, nope, I've been a particle the whole time. Look, I'm not a wave.
Just kidding.
Yeah. Why'd you look over here?
So then what change does that have on anything else that it affects at all? I mean, it's going to touch and move, and that's just the connection of everything, right? So when there's one little change, or even one major change, how much does that affect? How much ripple effect does that have? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean it makes you question, like, how, like I said, how does these particles know whenever someone is looking at them or being observed?
Right.
Like, are we that connected to the world around us that somehow, like in the game, if it knows all right, the character moved his head and now he's looking in this direction, so it needs to be, instead of 480p, it's got to be 4K now. This thing that he's looking at. So is that kind of the same way it works in the world where you spin your head and
Well, and
now,
it's very Matrix. Like the whole thing is very Matrix. They took the idea and made it into a few movies called The Matrix. Like I feel like that's
Yeah.
what's going on here.
yeah,
Because then they talk about code being found in everything.
yeah,
They found code in was it DNA? Is it natural code in DNA that they found? What did they find that was like
yeah. I'm trying to remember that part too. I know, like, because it was what's his face, deGrasse Tyson, Neil
Mhm.
deGrasse Tyson, that was talking about like looking down and finding code. But yeah,
Well, and it was a scientist that he had on, right? So like there
Mhm.
was another scientist that like devoted his life to studying that basically was trying to explain it. But when he did, it blew my mind. Like the fact that they've actually taken it stems back from the creator of everything and there being code in that,
Yeah.
right? So it only proves that there's a God, in my
yeah,
opinion.
there's some sort of designer,
Yeah.
whether you call them God or
Yeah, whatever you want to call it, it exists because something is controlling whatever is going on.
yeah,
In that scenario, it'd have to be in that scenario, somebody has to be controlling whatever's going on.
yeah, yeah. And the crazy thing, like they were talking about, so light being emitted from a galaxy 10,000 light years away, as it gets to Earth and somebody sees it, it reverse engineers itself all the way back to its galaxy and is like, look, I've been a particle the whole time, not a wave.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, and like and so that causes your brain to just go in all different kinds of theories and scenarios in your brain, right? So then what in that time that it's taking that to travel back, what's happening on our timeline?
Yeah. I mean, it's stuff that like it blows my mind to think about because, like you said, there's a lot of possibilities and there's a lot, like, it makes you wonder, like, is there a virus that got introduced into our simulation and that's what we're living through right now?
Yeah.
Is all these people who are just trying to burn down the world as it is or as it was, like every norm that we knew, they're trying to tear it apart.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, even if you want to get biblical with it, like, you can talk about like Satan introducing, like instead of Satan giving the apple of from the tree of knowledge to Eve, you could think of it as like Satan introduced a virus to the computer that we're living in. And
Yeah, I mean, like it's easy to take it and make a lot of sense from it because if stuff changes like that, if it's naturally changing, then are we naturally able to change things without even thinking about it?
yeah,
Like the second that say I'm dancing in my room alone and nobody's watching, right? Am I in control of that? Or the second that someone sees me, do I change? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are we all really in control of?
yeah. It's
if
the
that's the
whole
case.
if a tree falls in the forest and nobody sees it,
I was thinking that when we first got into this, I was like, yeah, does it really make a noise? Or is it just not even there because we don't see it?
Yeah.
And then if that's the case, then everybody's wrong about the shape of anything, the earth being flat or round or upside down. Like, we really don't know because it's constantly changing. Or possibly, anyway.
Or it's all what people want to see. Who knows?
That too. I've thought
Is
about
that-
that a lot.
Yeah, like everybody can view something differently from a different perspective and see something else or whatever they want to see.
Right. Well, and it's real easy to convince your brain to see whatever you think you're seeing. I mean, the best example I use for that is, I remember we had just moved into a house. We just moved into a new house. Kayla was like 5, I think. And she got scared one night. She came in and slept with me. And I don't know if her nightmares rubbed off or whatever, but I had a really bad nightmare. And I like shot up out of bed, and I immediately, for some reason, looked over at my window, and there was a giant freaking spider on my window. And I was like, shit, to the effect of, like, I probably should go get that in case, like, it bites the fuck out of one of us while we're sleeping.
Yeah.
And so, like, I went downstairs, got myself up, went downstairs, was going to get a cup, something to hit it with. I don't know. Came back upstairs. That thing never existed.
Yeah.
But it's like, you can convince yourself that I looked at it multiple times. It was there, and then it was not there anymore. It's just the weirdest thing. And then I didn't sleep the rest of the night because I was like, there's a good chance there's a monster spider running around my room, and I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I was saying, it's kind of crazy that people talk whenever somebody that's significant to them has a something tragic happen to them, and like they may be sleeping or something, they have a dream about that person being in an accident, and then they wake up and they really were in an accident or something like that. So it kind of makes you wonder, like, are we that connected with everything around us that it's like sending you information, like the whole system is talking to itself the whole time, right?
Well, when you just said that, it set my brain somewhere else. And like, are we, because it goes back to the whole energy thing. If you're putting negative energy into something, so if you're thinking those thoughts, are you the one causing it? So then, and that's the other thing is like, holy shit, how much cause and effect is going on?
Yeah, I've wondered that too. Like, almost anytime I think something bad is going to happen, it happens, and I'm like, all right, turn that part of your brain off. So let's not manifest that in the world for sure.
Right. But I mean, it's so easy and possible to when they say that you can speak things into fruition, it's absolutely possible. It happens all the time.
Yeah. So it's both scary and awesome at the same time, because if you, like you said, if you're thinking those positive thoughts and doing those positive things, then yeah, you can do a lot. But if you're a negative person, and we got a lot of negative people out here, low on T, doing some negative stuff, so.
Well, and of course, in the society that we live in, that's going to happen. But
yeah,
which really sucks.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the other things. We've got so many youth right now that, like, I think I don't remember the numbers exactly, but they were saying something like 40% of children these days are, like I've mentioned, suicide.
Well, yeah. Well, we've got our kids so damn confused, they don't even know what gender they are. I mean, yeah, they want to commit suicide. They don't even know who they are as people, because our society is going out of their way to convince them that they have no idea and they're never going to know.
Yeah, you're you're all racists, bigots that don't know whether you should be a man or a woman, and we'll help you figure that out. But everything that you think you know about yourself isn't true.
Right. And until you figure that out, let me teach you how to diddle yourself. Like, what is going on in our schools?
Yeah. That's why we have to be in a simulation with a virus that's been introduced to it.
We like none of this can be real. We cannot
Yeah.
be living in a real. It's got to be the worst TV show ever.
Raiders real though. He's the only real thing I know.
Required to address him as a human.
Yep.
So we do.
But yeah, I was thinking about that virus thing, and I was like, we have to have multiple viruses. Like, we need to get McAfee on this bitch and run a virus scan, because what the hell?
Oh, that's funny. I'm gonna need a full scan.
Yeah. It's gonna take a while, but we gotta root out these viruses and figure out what's going on.
Well, and it's like in there for a while, I got to a point where I wasn't even watching what was happening in any kind of media. I had no idea what was going on because it got to a point where it was like so depressing. It's like, oh my gosh, this is the world we live in. People are crazy. Everything is messed up.
Yeah.
Like right and wrong, there's no difference anymore. And there's nothing that can be correct about that for me. So I had to stop. I pulled myself away from watching anything. I mean, even podcasts, I wasn't watching anything.
Yeah.
Because it's hard for me to even consider this real life right now. So it's easier for me to just focus on what's going on in my immediate life.
Yeah.
And like get through it that way because but then like you learn there's pros and cons to everything, right? You learn that then you don't know what's going on. And is it better to know or not to know?
Well, that makes you wonder, like, did we mess up the system? So like if this stuff is supposed to be rendered, like say we are in a simulation and this stuff is only supposed to be rendered whenever you're looking at something. So like at the creation, there was the heavens and the earth, and you had the mountains and lakes and the ocean and this and that. And those are things that you should enjoy while you're in that moment. So it renders whenever you're looking at it. But now we've got this society that you can have information brought to you at an instant, and pictures of elsewhere and opinions from a 1,000 different people on a certain subject. And like are we just trying to render everything too much at once, and it's like overloaded the system, and instead of rendering little bits of information at a time like it was supposed to, it's now having to render 50, like you're getting overloaded. Like people are overloaded by all the stuff it's trying to render at once, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but
no, I get what you're saying. I'm on the I was thinking about this as you were talking about it, but like let me collect my thoughts for a second. Damn it, I can't remember what I was thinking about, but it was a little bit different than where you were going with that.
Basically what I was trying to say is, like, as you're looking at something, you're supposed to be able to like enjoy it or get something from it. But with our current society, the way, with all the phones and the information and the social media and everything that you've got attached to you now, your brain is sitting there rendering 1,000 different things.
Well, so what if, this is what I was going to say. What if there's a such thing as natural technology, and then there's man-made technology. And every little bit of man-made technology that we make fucks with the natural technology.
Interferes with the natural. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, the code that's embedded into stuff that we're throwing vaccines into.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, if you want proof that anything is a simulation, your easiest proof that you're going to get is in the vaccines.
Yeah.
If they are able to put, mRNA, that's what it is. They're putting code into DNA and then they're injecting it into your body so that it fuses with your DNA and changes things. Okay, that's what mRNA is. So if they're able to do that, then there's got to be code to begin with.
Yeah.
Because all they're doing is adding different code to the code that already exists. And then that should really open people's minds up to what's really being pushed and why they're pushing so hard, or why they've been pushing so hard for that vaccine. And it should make you question, what are they putting in all vaccines at this point?
Yeah, I've wanted the same thing, just going to get the flu shot, and like, I kind of want to tell the person giving the shot, like, can I look at this first?
Well, because if you don't think that they've figured out that there's code, and if they add code that they have more control, or they can change us in any form or fashion that they want, and they're not using that technology, if that technology exists, which it does, I don't know how the extent of what it does, but it exists, and we know they're using it, why would they want to use it? And what exactly is it doing, and why are they pushing it so hard? That's what scares me, and that's what should scare everybody.
Yeah, I agree. If that's the thing, is people will exploit any opportunity to get control over somebody, like governments will. So if you find out something new, the government will figure out a way to turn it into their favor, and that's what I don't get, is like, the governments are made of people too. Why do they become such a power hungry organization that will essentially oppress its people to a certain extent? Obviously, some are worse than others.
That is a fantastic question. I would love to know the answer.
Like, why do you think it's okay to go to somebody's house and tell them, if you don't do this, you owe us money? And you know what I'm talking about. Like,
we know you don't want to paint your eaves.
Yeah.
That does suck, though.
Yeah. But just because an organization decided, like, we need to make more money so that we can give ourselves raises at the end of the year, we need to go tell other people how to live their lives.
I really want that job.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the issue. Is that how it all started? Somebody was like, damn, that'd be a fun job. And then they just let it take control.
That's what I'm saying, is that, like, the very first show we did with the royalty, like, that's kind of how it worked. There was just somebody who was like, these people need a leader, and I'm going to give it to them. And then those people were probably low testosterone people that they're like, oh, he's right. We do need a leader. I don't want to be the leader.
I don't want to do that. That's what I'm saying with the feminist stuff. Like, I don't want to do all that. I don't want to be responsible for all that shit.
I'll give you whatever you want as long as you protect us. And you're like, well, in order to protect you, I'm going to need 90% of your taxes that come in, or 90% of your income. They're like, okay. And then, so he builds his army, and then the next thing you know, he's got a castle around him. So now you can't retaliate against him no matter what.
Right. But he used your money to build the shit.
Yeah, used your money to build the castle. Now he's sitting in the castle eating hams and drinking wine while you're out there chewing on a potato.
Yep, and all your little hunter friends that made weapons with you and killed things with you are now paid to be a part of
In the
that
army.
person's army and work
Yeah.
against you.
Yeah, these damn low testosterone people.
Well, I think like at a certain extent they almost that's what society wants, I think. That's what media wants. I think they want to overload you with so much information and feed you full of so much bullshit all the time that you just don't even want to. You're just like, I don't even want to look at it anymore. I'm just going to try and live my life because that's the easiest way to control people without letting them know that you're controlling them. Make their life so miserable they don't have a choice.
Yeah, definitely true. Like if like most people just don't want anything to do with politics anymore because it just makes them anxious and
Well, and it's gotten to like the extent of politics these days. It's gotten so, for lack of a better word, cringy. It's disgusting.
yeah.
And I think the bad part is it's been like that for a long time. If we're just now figuring out, and we're already tired of it. It's that low T.
Yeah. It's not
So,
and that if we're talking about simulations and low T's, it makes you wonder, like with the coding on that, like at what point did we change the code to make more low T or less T?
well,
Less testosterone.
this is the other thing you have to wonder at what point, because like they've already done this with this whole thing with vaccines, right? So we've already introduced it into our society. We already have it going. And how many people have been vaccinated now?
They say
like a lot.
90% of the world or something like that.
Okay, so 90% of the world's DNA has already been affected. For the most part, I think some of that was placebos, but so at what point do we get to where we've added code to people's DNAs already? We've added code to people's DNA already. It already had code that existed in it. Now they're going to have kids. Their kids are going to have kids. Their kids are going to have kids. And it's going to keep going. At what point are we just not even particles anymore?
Yeah.
And is that the reason behind it?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it kind of goes back to like in the beginning, we had a system that was designed perfectly, and now we're trying to introduce this man-made stuff, and it's just creating chaos.
Mm-hmm. Are you jealous, Kevin?
I am. My throat is hurting too, though.
Well, we don't have to go a full 2 hours.
Yeah. My throat is definitely like, you should stop talking.
Stop talking.
Although there's a lot to say about this subject, but it's hard to say it.
Well, I mean, we will end up doing a whole other shows on this topic.
I'm sure we will. No, I mean, I'm still even trying to wrap my head around just processing that information. That, like, what does it mean? Why does it do that?
Yeah, if I can link the video to this when it posts, I will.
Yeah, that would be cool.
People can watch it because it was mind blowing. Just ignore the fish. It's a little Bill Nye, but it is what it is.
Yeah, like I said, trying to understand that. It was just like, I didn't want to do anything for a little while because I was like, nothing is real.
Yeah.
Nothing is real. This
Well,
job that I'm working isn't real. The money that I'm getting from this job isn't real.
money itself isn't even real.
Yeah. So
And that doesn't really have anything to do with what we're talking about. It just isn't.
no, it's all made up, and the points
all
don't
made up.
matter.
But like I say that all the time, it would not surprise me if we are in fact living in a simulation, because none of this seems real to me. And then you watch shows like the one I'm watching now that you told me to watch, and then it makes you wonder. See, I'm glad that I watched the video that I watched before I watched the Apocalypse show, because then I'm like, okay, are we just, as we discover these masses of like old structures,
Ruins and
yes,
going back thousands of years.
as we discover them, is it changing something with our history? Now we've seen it. Is it changing? Is it evolving? Is that the trigger? Like somebody has to see it, and then it starts evolving into our reality. I mean, I don't know. It's a lot to.
Yeah, I had a thought on that.
But yeah, I definitely got to a point. Having said all of that, I've gotten to a point where I've convinced myself that this isn't real so much that sometimes I'm just like, why are you even doing this? It doesn't even matter. And that's not a good way to live either. So we probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah. We all have our part to play in the simulation.
Yeah. Even if it's just that you own a really cool dog.
Yeah. And you call out that it's a simulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a thought that was kind of connected to that, but I don't know. I'll have to save it. It went away real fast, but
it's been happening to me a lot today.
Definitely.
I didn't take my Alpha Brain.
Definitely, if you haven't watched that video, you should go watch it.
Yeah, I'll put it in the description.
Because you will be mind blown. Oh, and now it's raining out there.
I got notification earlier that we were supposed to get some storms coming in, which is really bad because I need to wash my car. Like, bad.
Yeah, I guess it's probably going to put a damper on my
stuff
I got to do.
You can't paint in the rain.
No.
Whoops.
Oh, well. I'll figure it out somehow. But
maybe it won't last long. Just go out there with a towel and dry it and then paint.
Yeah. It's like a crazy person. Oh, well.
All right. You want to wrap this up so we don't kill your voice?
Yeah, I suppose I should keep some sort of voice.
You're going to need it when you're cussing out your neighbors.
Probably.
All right. Well, are we on for next week? You got some stuff coming up.
Maybe. Tentatively.
Okay. All right. Well,
I'll let you know.
Okay. Well, then we'll just keep everyone updated.
Have
a good week, you guys.
Yep. Bye.